Hey, what's going on, everyone? I am back for another Slim Sports interview. And as always, I am your host, Jay Slim. And joining me again on the podcast, back for round two after showing people what he can do in the Power Four level with the Big Ten, with the Nebraska Cornhuskers, able to put people in the dirt, which is what he does best. From Georgia Southern being Defensive Player of the Year to going off to being nationally ranked with Nebraska. Ladies and gentlemen, 6 foot tall linebacker, Marques Watson-Trent. What's going on, bud?
What's going on, my guy, man? I'm super excited about this, man. I told you last time, man. I had such an amazing time. You do a great job, so just thank you for having me.
Hey, that means a lot to me, man. This podcast wouldn't be what it is today without guys like yourself helping me build up this podcast to what it's been. And it's not about me, it's all about hyping you guys up. And you know, that's what I do best. That's why I always try to work on these intros so people can get hyped up for these interviews. And we're going to hype them up even more in this segment where they get to learn about your accolades, learn about your resume in a segment that I like to call Resume Rundown. Going to show off a nice little graphic here, show off what you have done throughout your career. Back when you were in the Sun Belt Conference, 3 straight years, you were all Sun Belt Conference selection, 2 times being first team all conference selection. And 2024, your last year with the Eagles, you were Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year, showed them that you were one of the best linebackers in the entire country. Also earned second team All American honors by Hero Sports Group of Five. And this past year, you ended up going to another bowl game, which seems like you go to one every single year, no matter what team you're a part of. I believe 5 straight bowl games you've been a part of, or at least 5 in your career, which this past one, 2025 Las Vegas Bowl, New Orleans Bowl in 2024 and 2020, 2023 Myrtle Beach Bowl, 2022 Camellia Bowl. That's a whole lot of accolades, and I'm sure you've got even more with all the records that you set at Georgia Southern. But we're on limited time, so we got to go on ahead and hop into the questions here. Otherwise, we'll be here all day with just these accolades. And you're coming off of that big time career at Georgia Southern, where you were one of the top tier players on that roster over the past couple of years, and you come into Nebraska with this established role of being that veteran that knows how to bring a team from having a losing record one season to just being a winning program left and right year after year after year. I believe Georgia Southern, only one of those 5 years you were there, you guys had a losing season. Every other year, you were bowl eligible, winning season. Talk to me real quick about coming into Nebraska, a program where they have a solid culture set. They know how to be winners as well. How would you say you were able to bring that mentality that you had into the Cornhuskers program and blend in with their culture?
For sure. I think the biggest thing, with me going into the transfer portal and, for anybody that's going in, you got to have your mindset right as far as like what kind of program you want to be a part of. And I knew I wanted to be at a program that's similar to Georgia Southern, who, has a great tradition. Nebraska's been winning for years. They have greats coming in and out, Tommy Frazier, Levante David, you know what I mean? Those guys that are, at the top of college football and, made the transition to the NFL. So, going to a program like Nebraska, who has that kind of weight, and also in the Big Ten conference, I wanted to play, with the best and the best. You got to be prepared for everything, and mentally coming in, I knew I had a name, I knew I had a lot of hype, but I just humbled myself going into it. Asked the coaches where I can fit in and really be me. And, the transition was very smooth. They brought me in with, open arms and, kind of allowed me to be that leader that I know I can be and also be, have the impact that I can have, on the defense as far as just making sure I'm communicating, tackling at a high level, what I mean, stopping the run and, being in my zones and everything like that. So just bringing everything that I've learned throughout my career. I've been blessed to play a lot of games. I think I'm at 61 career games now. So, that's a lot of football that I've been blessed to be able to play. So, just bringing that experience, that dog mentality, to every game we coming into, we think we're going to win, and we expect to win. So, man, it was lovely coming in, and the transition was amazing.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned right there, you come in and you ask your coaches, hey, what you need me to do? And obviously you were able to come into their system, be a part of it and put up, some decent numbers, do what you were able to do. Talk to me real quick about the comparison though from the Cornhuskers to the Eagles, where obviously with Georgia Southern, you had 5 years where you were used to their system, used to
Mhm.
knowing who was around you and what was going on in certain situations. Now with Nebraska, you're getting used to how they have things set up, getting used to brand new teammates for yourself. Talk real quick about how Nebraska utilized you compared to how you were when you were with Georgia Southern.
Yeah, I think at Georgia Southern is kind of crazy. Actually, a lot of people don't notice we had three. I went through three different defensive coordinators. So I kind of throughout my year, I probably played in like four different defenses. So transition as far as just understanding defense and where I fit in my role. It kind of changed throughout the years. My younger years, I was a will backer, weak side backer, and then I transitioned to that Mike Green dot probably by my third year, and been in that position, majority of the time. Here at Nebraska, I did a little both. Coming in, Coach Rob, who's an amazing coach, I respect that guy a lot, and he helped me with this transition as far as just dual learning, making sure I'm able to play both positions, and have the green dot. Coming in, I already knew that's what they were looking for out of me is somebody that can communicate really well, handle the defense. The guys that a guy that everybody can look at to and be like, all right, he knows what he's doing, and he can get us right. So I took that role and ran with it. When when I came in, I started at the Mike position, moved around to the weak backer, and then later in the season, I ended played majority of the Mike throughout the rest of the season. But I was in that field backer position and just being able to help where I can in the run game. That was the main point of me coming in is it's Big Ten ball, so the boys gonna run the ball, and that's where I came in, and that's where I shine. I feel like I'm one of the best run defenders in the country, and one of the best in this draft. So just bringing that talent to the defense and that kind of mentality is like we're going to stop the run no matter what. And we had our moments, our highs and lows, and different things, and different things happen throughout the season. But that was my main focus coming in.
Hey, absolutely. I mean, you came in and you guys had a hot start right off the bat. Ended up starting off 3-0, had a 20-17 win over Cincinnati. Went against Houston Christian, beat them 59-7, and then Akron had a shutout 68-0 win there for what eventually was a 7-6 overall season, 4-5 in Big Ten action, where you guys had some injuries there towards the end, but the start really showcased what you guys could be. You guys ended up being nationally ranked at one point during the season because of what people saw from this team. How would you say that early win streak, that 3-0 start, really helped to propel you guys into Big Ten action to where you guys could go off and get wins over Maryland, Michigan State, some of these other tough teams, and compete with the best of the best?
Going in, we were very confident of the guys that we had in that locker room, and throughout the offseason we were able to grab. Coach Campbell has a great program as far as just bringing the team together and really like you gotta go through a lot of hard stuff to build that strength in the team mentality that we all got each other's back, and we already been through the hard. So going into the first game, Thursday, that's the first game of the season, Thursday night in KC, man, it was an amazing experience. Even for me having my first game, like I played a lot of games before that, but I take everyone as as a new thing. So just being able to get the nerves out that first game, and really be a part of that team and part of that win was amazing, and it just started from there. And we were extremely confident going into Big Ten play, and to be able to win the games that we won, we felt like we could have won some of the other ones. The Michigan game came down to the end. That hot start definitely helped us going into the Big Ten play.
Hey, absolutely, man. And you, as always, you always manage to have these big time hits, these big time sacks, and big time highlights throughout every single season that you are on the field. And once again, I had to put together a list of what I felt like were your top three plays for this segment that we're about to get into. Once again, called Make That Play, where we're going to go over what I felt like were your top three from this past season. But obviously, as you well know, I'm just a stats guy. I'm just a fan of the stands. You're the one on the field doing what you do best, putting people in the dirt. Which one would you say was your best play from this past season?
I would definitely say my favorite play is that Houston Christian sack to start the game off early in the season. Just the mindset going into that game, I knew I wanted to make a big time play for the team. And coming through, I started the season. I actually tore my labrum the week before the first game, so just battling different things mentally, and trying to get my feeding under. And I felt like that play kind of started the rest for my career in Nebraska. So that play holds a special spot in my my time there.
Hey, well, you must be looking at my list because that's number one on my list as well. And we'll get into that here in just a second. But first, I got to start off at number three, which was actually your sack versus Minnesota, where you came in strong, guns blazing, and you ended up knocking the quarterback off balance there for a sec, came back, put him in the ground once again to complete that sack there. And so got a sack against Minnesota there. Number two, going against Penn State. I mean, just a strong TFL where I mean, I thought that guy had a concussion. You blitzed in on that run play, and boom, got at him as hard as you could and spun him to the ground right behind the line of scrimmage for a loss of yardage for Penn State. And then at number one, yeah, 6 yard sack versus Houston Christian. I agree with you there. You bolted in on a blitz right through the gap and just pulverized the quarterback, put him back close to the end zone, I believe it was. So those three plays right there, though obviously just three of a whole lot of tackles that you had this past season. And what's crazy is, I mean, at Georgia Southern, you had 3 straight years of 100 plus tackles. And here in the Big Ten, you had a lot of talent at Georgia Southern with you, but you had a lot more distribution when it came to the tackles, it seemed like, with the Cornhuskers, where this past season, your numbers, you had 40 total tackles, 15 to 20 solo. You had a sack and a half, two and a half TFLs. Did have some good performances overall. I mean, Houston Christian, besides that sack, you had three big time tackles there as well. Maryland, you had 6 tackles, four of those being solo. And then Minnesota, you had probably one of your best games of the season, 11 total tackles to go with that sack against the Gophers there. Talk to me real quick about a guy being this guy where you're used to having these big time numbers while still helping your team win. How would you say, from a non-stat perspective, taking the numbers out of it, what was your role and how did you really contribute to the same level that you did with the Eagles?
Yeah, so I would say comparing like my biggest thing is like when you compare two things as far as just like my role on Georgia Southern versus my role on Nebraska, it's just a different role. And to be a competitor and be the player that I know I can be, I want to impact as much as I can. So if I can have 15 tackles, that would be great. But at the end of the day, I got to play my role, and I want to play my role at a high level. And when you really know the ins and outs of football and understand football, it's more than just the stats. You know what I mean? So like impacting the game, you can impact the game and have 3 tackles and it still be a great game. And that's something that I had to learn coming here. Is like we have a lot of talent around me, and I was blessed to play with some great guys at Georgia Southern. But this year at Nebraska, we had a lot of great guys around me who also could contribute and hold their own. And that's the thing that I did. I just focused on my role, winning my one-on-ones, and when the plays came to me, I made my plays, and that's all you can ask for. It's like the opportunities that you get and you are blessed with when you're out there. Are you making it? Or are you not making it? And time in and time out, I proved to be able to make my plays and have an impact in some ways. You're going to have big games like Minnesota where you have 11 tackle games, but I still look at the impact as far as like, all right, what are the teams like? What rushing yards are they getting? Are they having a big rushing game that game, or are they not? And it's like it's cool to have 11 tackles, but if you're losing the ball game, those 11 tackles really doesn't mean nothing to you. So I like to play a part of defense that win and dominate. So if the D line can collect every single tackle, I'm on board. That means we're playing great ball. We're all in our fits, and them guys are eating. But I just love to be a part of a team that that's committed to winning, and we're all competing to get after the ball. Like a guy like Javen Wright, who had a great year. That boy was getting to the ball every down he can. Vincent Schaefer's is another linebacker. He's coming up. Who's going to really have a great year this year too, and I'm excited to see what he do. That's what good defense is. Is one guy's making all the plays. It's not always the best defense in the country. So, and I wanted to be a part of the best defense in the country, and I feel like we were one of those, especially in the pass game this year. I think we finished number one. So, just it's a different kind of role that I played this year, and I knew that going in. I had to learn that. Hey, listen, every play, every game is not going to be an 11 tackle game. That doesn't mean that you didn't play a great game. So, and I just talking to my coaches and learning, different ways to impact the game and all that things and like that. But it definitely was different. But I loved it. I felt like I excelled at my role and made the plays that came to me.
Hey, there you go. Spoken like a true future pro right there. Obviously, it's more than just the numbers. You and I both know that. And you, wherever you've gone, you have found ways to help your team win, help your team make all these different bowl games that you've been able to be a part of. So obviously, you know your role. You have that IQ. That's why you're going to be hearing your name here soon in the professional ranks. There's no doubt in my mind. You already know I'm going to have to spend some money on a jersey, get that in your collection, whatever
One
team you
doubt,
end up with.
no
And
doubt.
I mean, going into Big Ten action, you're going against the best of the best. I mentioned before, you beat Maryland, beat Michigan State. You mentioned yourself that Michigan game. I mean, it came down to the wire. That was a one-score game. You guys could have beaten them as well. But then injuries hit. QB1, Dylan Raiola, I believe his name is, he ends up going down. A couple of the O linemen go down, and a couple of other injuries throughout the group. You guys had to bounce back. You guys, defense especially, knowing, all right, well, offense is being hampered mostly with these injuries. We have to step up and do our thing. So, how would you say the defense stepped up, knowing, all right, they have some injuries that they got to work through. We got to do our part and step up.
But yeah, I think we took that challenge on. Like you a part of being a team like that is you got to have each other's back. And we focus on what our job is, and that's to stop the run and stop the pass. And that's the mindset that we had in it. And we had our success, and at times, and there was times that we didn't. And I think every guy on there know that if we could go back, we would do the same thing because I know everybody gave their 100% effort going into it, and you can control what you can control. Injuries happen; those are a part of the defense teams, and what happens throughout the season. Everybody goes through them, so you kind of just gotta play. You gotta play whatever you got, whoever you got, and you got to go out there and want to dominate. And that's the mindset that we had. So I appreciate them guys. I love playing this season with them because to see the effort and the attention to detail rise when we were hit with adversity, that shows the real character of a team. And I wouldn't want to be a part of a different program.
Hey, absolutely, man. You guys' head coach, I saw him on the Pat McAfee show a couple of times. Love that dude. Love the culture that he put in place for the Cornhuskers. And you yourself, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not sure about eligibility anymore with how many years people get. But I believe you are now getting ready for the NFL ranks, head off to the pros, do what you do, and make some money along with it. How would you say this year at Nebraska really helped prepare you for the NFL ranks? Obviously, you did all the accolades that we mentioned, all the numbers that you put up with Georgia Southern, but now you have a chance to show that film against the best of the best week after week. How would you say this year really prepared you to take that next step to the NFL?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is mentally one, just being prepared to battle every week. There's no like in the Big Ten, there was no game where you can just like, all right, we know going into this game is going to be easy. Every game is a hard game. Every game is a Super Bowl, and the preparation for it has to be heightened at every game. It doesn't matter if you're playing a Houston Christian or a USC nighttime game. So just I think the mental aspect of it definitely grew, and then just taking care of your body. I had some, injuries throughout the season, that really hindered a lot of different things, but being able to really like prevent those injuries in the off season, as far as just the amount of muscle that you have on your body, taking care of the body fat percentage, making sure you're hydrated and different things like that. Those are the things that I've learned from Nebraska of like how to really be a pro is like you have to take care of your body because our body is what, makes us be able to do those special things and make special plays. And the last thing, which I should have said first, is the most important thing, is just my spiritual walk with God. I think this year I went through a lot of highs and lows throughout the season, and even through my personal life. And I needed a foundation, and just to remember where my foundation was and where I lay at, and that's with God. And I would say that for anybody who's going through these processes of either transfer portal, even if you're going through injuries or not knowing where you are, man, just knowing that you're never alone with God, and God always has your back and He's always with you. And when you really commit to Him and really give your life to Him, man, He'll take you places you'll never thought you would. And that's what He has continued to do in my life. And I'm excited about what's the future and what's to come because I know that I got God with me. So when you're battling with the Most High, man, it becomes very peaceful, and you be able to get back and really impact people's lives in a different way because you're letting your light shine. So that's been my main focus, and that's what I want to promote is like the sport we play is very is fun, And I love this since I was a kid. Like this, I wouldn't want to play any other sport. But he's giving you a platform for a reason, and there's purpose with it. So just using that platform for his good, and that's what I'm gonna do and continue to do throughout my career as I enter to the next level.
Hey, there you go, man. And I cannot wait to see where you end up at the next level. And obviously, you're going to be competing with the best of the best, just like you did this past year in the college ranks. And you were able to play alongside a whole lot of great talent during your time at Georgia Southern as well. And when I had you on last year, you shouted out some of your teammates from the Eagles. And this time around, we're going to look at the Cornhuskers, or if you want, you can even refer back to the Eagles or anywhere else in this segment we're about to get into called Who's Up Next, where once again you get to shout some people out, recommend them for the podcast to talk about their careers, their stories as well, just as you're doing now. So, who would you say is next up on the Some Sports podcast?
Man, I got a long list of guys, so I hope y'all ready. I'm gonna start off in the linebacker room with Vincent Shavers. I mentioned him. He had a great season last year. He's coming back for his junior year. Man, he's a problem. He's gonna be really good. He's very talented. I can't wait to see what he do. I believe Andrew Marshall is gonna be one of the best corners in the league next year. With the tools that God has blessed with him with and the mindset that he has, man, he has everything aligned to have a great year next year. I'll go Dawson Merritt. He had dealt with some injuries last year, coming off his freshman season, but he's going to also do really well going into it. Jacob Bowers, another guy in the linebacker room that's, he started off his career as a walk on, man. And if you know anything about walk ons, man, those guys go through a lot to be able to be, put that uniform on and to be able to grind all the way from, being a walk on guy, not knowing if you're going to play special teams or just even make the team still, and to being a guy that's out there on Saturdays and competing, against the best and the best. I'm very excited to see where his career goes and next year. Also, I'll say Rio Buford, safety out of Texas. He's another guy that's going to be a sleeper. Him and Jameer Khan at safety and Justin Rett. I know I named a lot, but them guys are coming.
Hey, there you go. Obviously, some dogs right there. Definitely going to take a look at their numbers, their film, and try to reach out to them, get them on the podcast to talk about their careers, just as you have done now. And man, it's always fun getting you on the podcast. You're one of the most positive people that I get to have on every single year. And we're going to keep on doing this even when you're in the pros, hopefully, with that
No
jersey.
doubt.
Once I get the money, obviously, those things are insane. But now, those obviously, we just got done with who's up next. Final question here is what's next for yourself? How are you really attacking this off season and going through the process of getting ready for the NFL draft, finding a team to, be a part of for your professional career to go off and do what you do at the highest level possible?
Yeah, man. So I've actually been in Miami training at Balmerinos since January, and completely changed my whole body. That has some dealing with some stuff on my quad, so got to heal up the quad and everything. The shoulders feeling everything healthy, and just getting the right weight on for me is and just locking in on different things like that, and just getting ready for the season, man. I'm excited, man, to see where I go and where my future is. It's in God's hands, so we'll see what happens in April, where I land. But wherever I land, you're getting a guy that's committed 100% to winning, not just for individual success, but I really want to be on the team that wins. And I play to win. I don't play just for my own glory. And I'm just excited to get on that level and that platform to also promote the Most High. So I'm excited, man. I can't wait to see what God got. I know He got a lot in store for me, and I'm ready for the challenge. Wherever that may be.
Hey, there you go, man. Definitely can't wait to see what you're doing on Sundays here in the 2026 season coming up. Beyond blessed to be able to have seen you grow as a player and as a person, doing what you do best. And man, always fun getting you on the podcast, man. So thank you so much for supporting the Slim Sports podcast and being a part of the Slim Sports family.
Of course, man. I appreciate you for having me. Always.